Hello everyone. My name is Michael or Kiratze online. Hopefully you guys are having a positively fantastic day so far, and I'm here with another episode of You Should Play, and this is You Should Play Dead Cells. And it has been a long time since I've made a YouTube video. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. I just got back from vacation. It's just a short, long weekend vacation with my friend's bachelor party, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's good to be back streaming. And when I got back to streaming today, I noticed that Dead Cells is out of early access. So you guys might have seen a highlight video from this game a long time ago on my channel. When I did a stream of it, I surprisingly did not do a You Should Play on it, though. I think I might have actually played it. I think I might have streamed it before I even started the You Should Play series. But this is a game that I played when it first came out, and that was back in May, I think May 2017. So last year, so it's been over a year they've been in early access, and just today, August 7th, they finally came out of early access, and it is like a brand new game. This game's absolutely fantastic. And if you're into Metroidvania games or roguelite games, this is pretty much a must buy, because you're going to have a good time with it. It is really awesome. It saved a lot of my progress. Moving into 1.0 release, they did say that it's probably best to just start a new save file. I decided to stream it at least once with the progression I already had. I put about 30 hours into the game when it first came out, which is a fair amount of time, and it was already worth it back then to purchase. So you can probably get an idea of how good it is now, because they've added so many new mechanics. It has so much more depth. And it's just amazing. Like it's a 10 out of 10 game in my opinion. I personally have no qualms with it. I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing moving forward. They have mentioned that they are going to be working on like a free DLC or big content update, and they have mentioned that as long as people are playing Dead Cells and are interested in it, they'll keep adding more and more things on it. This is definitely a game where, because the game loop is so fun, they can add so many different things in it. And yeah, but I should probably describe what exactly it is. What the hell are you seeing on screen? So Dead Cells is what they call a RogueVania game. They take a roguelite elements and mix it in with Metroidvania or Castlevania type sort of style of platforming and gameplay, and that's essentially what you have here. That's what Dead Cells is. It is a amazing roguelite where you are playing, you're not really sure. One of the biggest things actually they put into the 1.0 release is adding some lore into the game. So when I first played the game back a year ago, this game didn't actually have any lore. It had little tiny bits of lore, but you really still had no idea what the hell was going on because it was so early in development. Now they've actually added some lore. I actually didn't start a new game file, so I don't really know what kind of lore they've added into the beginning of the game. But even right here, you can see that I've encountered a room where I'm reading some notes left behind from previous people that have been in that room, essentially the guards of this castle. And the whole idea is that you're actually a prisoner. You're not really sure why. I haven't encountered fully, the story yet. It's definitely one of those games where you're going to have to actually find specific rooms to sort of piece together what exactly is going on. But essentially at the start, you're like this green blob. Yeah, that's pretty much what you are. You're this green blob that encounters sort of this sort of suit of armor or whatever, as you see now, and you take control of it, and you find that you're actually one of many almost clones. You find that you can't die, and every time you die, the whole castle reconstructs itself, and you come back to life, and you play through the game again. So this game does have Souls-like combat in the sense that it's all very pattern-based. So it's all about dying, learning, and fighting again. That's essentially what the game loop is. So there are randomly generated things every time you play. It's going to be a different type of game, mainly due to sort of all the gear that's in the game and sort of the progression system in the game. So when you do die, you do lose everything on death. Now there are persistent elements, just like many other roguelites. So how the game works is throughout your first run, you'll start encountering blueprints, whether they be locked behind doors, whether they be in treasure chests, whether they're from bosses or enemies. You'll find these blueprints, and over time you'll actually accumulate you'll accumulate more and more gear that will be thrown into your pool of gear that will be randomly pulled from, to spawn throughout all of your runs. At the very start of the video, you probably saw all those jars with all the items and stuff in it. Those are all the different gear that you can find, and every time you find a new blueprint, it'll actually toss it in one of those jars. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat to that. Hence the name Dead Cells. Throughout the game, by killing enemies as well as defeating bosses and opening chests, you'll acquire cells. Those are essentially your souls, like in Dark Souls, for example. And those are what you use to actually unlock the blueprints. So not only do you have to find the blueprints, you have to spend cells on them in between each level to actually put it into your pool. And there actually comes some strategy to this if you're actually starting a new game file. And I am actually going to plan on starting a new game file because I do want to sort of strategize a little bit better in my progression, as well as I do want to experience some of the beginning lore and things that they added into the very beginning of the game. And it'll be nice to sort of re-experience it. After not playing games for so long, I love to start fresh anyways. So yeah, you can see in the bottom right above my gold counter, there's a little blue circle icon. Those are your cells. And there's different biomes, there's different tile sets essentially, and they're all randomly generated, as well as there's currently 4 main bosses in the game. As well as there are things like elite monsters and mini bosses that you encounter throughout that will give you not only more blueprints, but also, because it's a Metroidvania style game, that you'll also unlock more persistent abilities. For example, one of them will allow you to grow vines from these plant nodes that you find, which will unlock more pathways. So when you first play the game, there's really only one pathway you can go, but as you unlock more of these rune abilities, you'll actually encounter more paths you can take to actually get to get to the different bosses. That adds a lot of variety in your runs, not only just to keep things fresh, but also each tile set has its own set of enemies, as well as certain tile sets have better chance for loot, but as well, come with their own difficulties. So it allows you to really strategize and figure out where you want to go. You can even see in the top right, there's actually Twitch integration in the game, and the Twitch chat can actually vote on which passage that you should take, depending on if you have it unlocked, obviously. Now you don't have to go that direction, but obviously, if it's Twitch chat voting, you got to go with whatever Twitch chat goes. Twitch chat can also do a bunch of different things. There's a bunch of different features you can enable or disable. For example, one of them is Captain Chicken, which will actually be a chicken that can follow you around and actually can take control of your health potion and heal you whenever whoever's controlling that chicken at that time wants you to. They can also take control of bosses, actually, and type in abilities in the chat to actually make the boss use abilities. Hell, there's even, right here you can see Twitch chests, where the Twitch chat will actually have to type in, punching effects and sound effects in the chat to actually break open the chest, which is a pretty cool way to get them interacting with your game. And hell, there's even a sub alert integrated into the Twitch chat, which I found out, which is very, very cool of them. I got a subscription today from someone, and suddenly there was fireworks coming out of my guy, and it even said in the game who subscribed. So very, very cool of them. And that's sort of going above and beyond in terms of your Twitch integration right there, because that was a very unexpected but very, very cool surprise. So the Twitch integration has worked really, really well, and it's pretty just insane it's just insane on how many things they've added to this game since I played. Because when I first played this game, let me just give you a baseline of sort of what this game was when I first played it back in early access. At the beginning of its early access, is you had your basic finding your blueprints, unlocking them through your cells, and then finding them throughout your game, and beating the bosses. Now, there were only 2 bosses when I first played. Now there's 4 main bosses, and they actually changed the names of them too, and also added new abilities as I found out. Even the first boss gave me some trouble, whereas when I first played, it didn't give me too much trouble at all once you learn the patterns. But they definitely added some things to mix it up a little bit, and the game's much more difficult. Now, that's pretty much what the game loop was back then. Now you have different ways to level your gear. You have forgery now. You have more secret rooms. You have lore. You have daily challenges. The list goes on sort of how many mechanics they've actually put into the game. And the game is actually quite in depth. And there's a lot of nuances of the game where this game definitely rewards you for learning the mechanics and strategizing around them. For example, like this rally effect, if you're familiar with Bloodborne, the rally effect essentially is if you get hit, you'll notice there's a red portion of the bar that's still there. You can actually damage an enemy right away to actually gain some health back. There's even something like a sudden death prevention, where if you take damage above a certain amount, you'll actually just get reduced to 1 as opposed to just dying outright. So it's sort of a little helper mechanic. There's a breaching mechanic, so if you do a certain amount of damage and do enough damage to breach enemies, they'll get stunned. There's a lot of things like that, and you can actually go through the wiki, and I opened up the wiki before doing this video just to sort of see some of the things to talk about. And yeah, there's just a lot more mechanics than you realize just by playing the game. Like, there's a lot of nuances, and there's actually quite a few stats in the game or about the game. If you are a stats person, it can even give you an edge, obviously, if you really sort of min-max your knowledge about the game and try to fine-tune everything about it. So yeah, actually right here, when you're right here, you just saw one of the in-between areas. So after each level, you'll actually get a chance to spend your cells on multiple things, and you'll even get out of mutation. That's a new thing they added since I played, which is like a permanent, well, not permanent, permanent for the run, I should say, modifier that can give you extra things. So for example, like minus cooldown on grenades, or minus cooldown on abilities, or some extra health. There's a lot of different things. Now, the way you level your gear is one of the more unique things about the game, and it just adds another layer of just sort of customizability. And what I love about this game, and what I fell in love with it, back when it first came out, was just the ability to really play however you want. And there's definitely some really powerful combos. If you've played like Wizard of Legend, for example, or other rogue lights of that nature, you'll know that there's like some really cool combos you can do, and this game definitely has that feel. There's just certain combos where things just feel like right. And the game realizes that. The game will actually throw affixes to a lot of the different gear. So, for example, you might have a fire grenade that also poisons enemies, and then you might have a melee weapon that does extra damage to poisoned enemies. So you can sort of see where combos can go from there, and that'll actually shape your play style and shape how you want to go. On top of that, you'll notice on my gear, there's actually different color codes for it. So, for example, behind my fire grenade, it has a red background. That's brutality. And for example, my bow and my throwing knife have a purple background, and that's tactics. So there's 3 sort of different skills, or not really skill trees, I guess, but there's 3 different sort of ways you can level gear, and that's brutality, tactics, and survival. And they all come with their own different passives. And they'll generally come with their own different types of gear. So, for example, melee weapons will have brutality, but some can also have brutality and tactics. So you can see one of my abilities on the right side there. My Blade Storm actually has both brutality and tactics, and it'll actually scale off whatever that background color is. So on the bottom left, you can see sort of my levels for each category. And Twitch chat, that's one of the things that Twitch chat can actually vote on, is when you find these scrolls of power or community codexes in the Twitch integration case, is you'll actually be able to choose, or at least have Twitch vote on what you want to level. And that it's a really cool mechanic. It definitely adds so much depth in sort of how you want to play. On top of that, you can even see different levels of gear. So for example, my heavy crossbow is level 3, my throwing knife is level 1. Those go up to, I believe, level 5, if I'm not mistaken, at least when I first played the game. I'm not sure how high they went on when I played it now. And my quick bow has a plus on top of that. That even goes from, plus to plus to S level on top of your sort of straight levels. And that actually affects in how they scale as well. On top of that, there's even a bunch of different affixes, as I mentioned. And there's probably close to around 100 different pieces of gear, combining with different abilities, different grenades, different shields, ranged weapons, and melee weapons. There's so many different things. On top of that, there's just a cooldown is all you have to worry about, which is really nice. So there's no resources in the game, other than, like, for example, ranged weaponry having ammo. Other than that, your abilities and things like that just have cooldown, and you can even augment that through different different means, which is amazing. So it means that the gameplay is really, really quick. It's very, very tight controls, and it's just very, very fast-paced and very, very fun and hectic and amazing. The game also feels a lot more balanced, which is awesome. When I first played the game, obviously it being early access, it was fairly unbalanced. There were certain combos in the game that were just straight up broken. On top of that, things like traps, for example, deployable traps, you could just throw them down and walk away, and you could just sort of hide and play it really, really cheesy like that. They've added a mechanic where you actually have to stay by the trap now to actually power it. So there's a lot of cool, ways to balance the game, and it still makes it so you can play your own play style. And the best thing about that is it does actually feel like different play styles. It doesn't feel all the same, just minor differences. It actually does feel quite different depending on which route you take. A ranged build will definitely feel a lot different than like an ability build, which in course will feel a ton different than a deployable trap build, which will feel different than a melee build. The list goes on and on and on. On top of that, they have just talismans, which will augment your passive abilities. And yeah, I could just talk on and on and on about sort of the different pieces of gear and stuff like that, because there's so many different ways to play. And that's probably the main attraction to Dead Cells, I think, is that even though that the game loop is always going to be the same, and even though there are different paths you can take, you'll still be seeing the same same scenery over and over and over again. But because the gameplay is so fun and there's so many different ways to play, it's like the Binding of Isaac effect. It feels different every single time. And yeah, I'm loving the increased challenge as well. Like I said, I did beat both bosses when the game first came out quite easily. And I almost got to the, I almost defeated the second boss this time. I got super, super close. There was literally probably less than an inch of his health bar left, and I died, which was super feels bad, man. And there's 2 more bosses after that, so I'm super excited to see the different bosses in the game. There's still a lot I have yet to learn, like this choice, for example. I still have no idea what this does. There's a lot about this game where it's just you discovering what's going on. I'm actually very curious about the story too. I don't know exactly, because the 1.0 release did include lore in the game now. I'm not sure how much they included. I'm not sure if they actually included sort of a finality about the lore where you really just figure out what the hell is going on. All I know so far is that you are the prisoner of this castle. You come back to life, you can't die, and you've committed some sort of crime. That's pretty much all I know. You also realize that pretty much everyone on the island is dead, and that's sort of where my knowledge about the lore ends. So yeah, I'm excited to do that. There's even some different ways to play in terms of the pacing. It actually rewards and balances out speedrunning. So if you're a speedrunner, you can see in the bottom right, actually, there is a timer, in-game timer. I'm actually very curious as to see how many speedrunners actually take this game up, because I could see this game being a very, very fun speedrun game to watch. One of the cool things about the speedrun aspect is there's actually special doors that you'll encounter that are timed doors, where they actually lock after a certain amount of time and you can't enter them. And it'll actually tell you how slow you were. So if you enter a door 3 minutes late, it'll actually tell you, this door locked 3 minutes ago or whatever. And they'll actually have their own rewards in it to sort of help you out, because usually when you rush through the game and you don't explore, you will miss out on things like scrolls of power or more gear or merchant shops. So they actually do include quite a few awesome rewards in those timed doors to sort of help you stay powered, so you don't go into the final boss with just completely level 1 gear. So it's very, very cool. They even have legendary weapons, and if you're a fan of loot, I mean, this game definitely has it. And there's a lot I still haven't done yet, and I've played just over 30 hours. I did a 3-hour stream today. So I'm looking forward to playing more. So if you actually are looking at checking this game out and you want to sort of ask me some questions before purchasing it, which, if you've seen the gameplay, if you heard me talk about it, and you're a fan of roguelites or Metroidvania type games, you've probably already purchased it while you're watching this video. But if you have any questions about the game, feel free to stop by my Twitch channel. I'll be streaming this as well as more of Warframe. I'm very excited to get back into that after my vacation. And yeah, I'm coming up on 150 hours of Warframe, which I'm super hyped about. I probably won't do a Tenno Diaries for that. I think because I'm like sort of in the deep thick of it in terms of the grind. I think I'll be increasing the time increments as when I actually do those Tenno Diaries, since the variants and like the additions will become more and more slower, since it'll take me a lot longer to get new pieces of gear, so things won't change too much in between each Tenno Diaries, and I don't really want to make a new video for my updates in Warframe just for like a couple of new Warframes or a couple of new pieces of gear. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what else I want to talk about in this game, because this is one of those games where like I want to try to like talk about it as much as I can to convince you people to buy it because it's so good. But I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that. There's hundreds of reviews out there that have had glowing reviews. The Steam review rating has, explains itself. I believe this game is actually on Switch too, if I'm not mistaken, which this is like a perfect Switch game. So if you have a Switch, I would recommend getting it on that, since, playing this on the toilet would be pretty damn awesome. But yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Trying to think if I've missed anything major about the game, but I think we're good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys follow all the links in my description below. Follow my Twitch channel mainly. We are coming up on 3,000 followers. Thank you guys so much to anyone who actually has come and followed the Twitch channel and has watched. From the YouTube side of things, it always makes me smile and makes me super happy when I see people that have mentioned they've come from the YouTube side of things, because I do mainly make YouTube videos just for these types of things, but as well to drive some more traffic to my Twitch channel, because that is the main source of content that I do sort of online. But yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your night, day, or morning, wherever you are, and we'll talk to you guys later.